Hello students, let us today discuss the most important 15 questions for NET 2019 for the chapter photosynthesis. So let's start. So let us discuss the first question. The process which makes major difference between C3 and C4 plant is respiration, glycolysis, Calvin cycle or photorespiration. The correct answer is option D, photorespiration. The photorespiration takes place only in C3 plants and it is absent in C4 plants. Since photorespiration is a wasteful process and it is absent in C4 plant, so productivity of C4 plants is more as compared to C3 plants. In photorespiration, rubisco combines with oxygen instead of carbon dioxide, leading to formation of phosphoglycolate. Now let us discuss second question. In chloroplast, highest number of protons are found in antenna complex, stroma, lumen of thylakoid, intermembrane space. The answer is lumen of thylakoid. Now, we know that according to chemoosmotic hypothesis, which is given very clearly in NCERT, it says that maximum number of protons accumulate in the lumen of thylakoid and they are less in the outside area. So, according to the concentration gradient, they move from the lumen of thylakoid into the stroma. And as they move, they cross F0 F1 particles, which leads to generation of ATP. So maximum number of protons in the chloroplast are present in the lumen of thylakoid. Now let us look at question number 3. Krebs anatomy is not seen in maize, sorghum, tomato. Now, how to answer this question? You should remember that Krebs anatomy means an anatomy in which bundle sheath cells surround the vascular bundles, xylem and phloem. And this type of anatomy is always seen only in C4 plants. And maize and sorghum are example of C4 plants. So tomato is an example of C3 plant. So Krebs anatomy is always in C4 plant, not in C3 plant. So tomato will not show Krebs anatomy. Now let us look at question 4. Cyclic photophosphorylation results in formation of NADPH plus H positive, ATP and NADPH plus H positive, ADP, ATP or ADP plus NADPH. Now how to remember this question? Now we know in cyclic photophosphorylation, as the name suggests, it is photophosphorylation. So ATP would always be formed. Whether it is cyclic or whether it is non-cyclic photophosphorylation, ATP will always be formed. But in cyclic phosphorylation, we know that the electron return back to the photosystem 1 and NADPH plus H positive is not formed since electron return back to photosystem. So answer would be ATP. Only ATP would be formed in cyclic photophosphorylation, whereas in non-cyclic photophosphorylation, ATP as well as NADPH2 is formed. Since electron does not return in non-cyclic but returns in cyclic photophosphorylation. The other difference between cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation is that in non-cyclic photophosphorylation, both photosystems are involved, photosystem 1 and photosystem 2, whereas in cyclic photophosphorylation, only one photosystem is involved, that is photosystem 1. Now let us look at question 5. Rate of photosynthesis is higher in very high light, red light, green light, continuous light. The answer would be red light. This question is directly from NCERT. You should remember that photosynthesis is highest in red and blue region of light. Now let us look at question 6. How many ATP are required by C4 plant in synthesis of one molecule of glucose? 18 ATP, 30 ATP, 12 ATP, or none of the above. Now we know that C3 plants require 18 ATP during Kelvin cycle for production of one molecule of glucose, and C4 plants require 12 ATP extra as compared to C3 plant. So they will require 12 ATP extra. So C4 plant would require 30 ATP in total so as to form one molecule of glucose. So answer would be B, 30. Since C4 plants require 12 more ATP as compared to C3 plant. C3 plant require 18 ATP. Now let's go to question number 7. Photorespiration reactions are operated in which three organelles? Now I have already told you that photorespiration is absent in C4 plants and take place only in C3 plants. It takes place inside three organelles which are chloroplast, mitochondria, and peroxisomes. So this is a very important question. Photorespiration takes place in three organelles, that are chloroplast, mitochondria, and peroxisomes. Now let us look at question number 8. Stomata remains open at night in C3 plants, C4 plants, CAM plants, hydrophytic plants. So the correct answer is CAM plants. Now what are CAM plants? CAM is a pathway which is known as cressolation acid metabolism. This CAM pathway or metabolism takes place in succulents, xerophytic plant, desert plants like cactus. So in these plants, stomata remain open at night while it remain closed in day. So why do they require that stomata should open at night? Because during day, the rate of transpiration is very high. So in order to prevent loss of water from surface of the leaf, stomata remain closed in daytime and remains open during night time. This question is also directly from NCERT. So you should remember that stomata should remain open at night in only CAM plants. Let us look at question number 9. Light reaction takes place in. So in this, the question is, where does light reaction take place? We know there are two reactions in photosynthesis, light and dark. In light reaction, the ATP and NADPH2 are formed, which are used in dark reaction, and this light reaction takes place in the thylakoid. For your information, I am also telling that dark reaction takes place inside the stroma. So light reaction inside the thylakoid and dark reaction inside the stroma. Now let us look at question 10. Which one does not evolve oxygen? Green algae, blue-green algae, autotrophic plant, photosynthetic bacteria? The answer would be D, photosynthetic bacteria. You should remember that bacteria photosynthesis is anoxygenic, means it does not evolve oxygen like plants. Now a question arises, why bacteria does not evolve oxygen while photosynthesis? Because we know that bacteria, it uses hydrogen sulfide instead of water for hydrogen. So since it uses chemicals instead of water for generation of ATP, so oxygen is not liberated. Now let us study the 11th question. What conclusions are drawn from red drop and enhancement experiment in light reaction of photosynthesis? Now, first of all, to answer this question, we should know what is red drop and what is enhancement experiment. Actually, these both concepts were given by Emerson. So Emerson enhancement effect and Emerson red drop, these are the two phenomena. Let us study Emerson enhancement effect. Emerson enhancement effect says that photosynthetic yield or productivity increases by combined effect of red light, that is 680 nanometer, and far red light, that is 700 nanometer. And Emerson red drop means that there is sharp decline in photosynthesis at wavelength greater than 680 nanometer. That is called red drop. So if we have wavelength greater than 680 nanometer, then the rate of photosynthesis declines. Now, why does the Emerson enhancement effect and red drops occur? Now, we know that if we will expose the chloroplast to wavelength greater than 680 nanometer, then only one photosystem would be functional. That is photosystem 1, because it is photosystem 700. So the productivity would decrease because photosystem 2 would not be in function. So that is why Emerson red drop take place at wavelength greater than 680 nanometer. Now, what do you mean by enhancement effect? If we expose chloroplast to two wavelengths, that is 680 and 700, then both the photosystem 1 as well as 2 would be functional. So the combined effect would be more and photosynthesis would be more. That is Emerson enhancement effect. So the conclusion drawn from this experiment is that two photosystems are present at different wavelength. So Emerson enhancement effect and red drops tell us that two photosystems are present at different wavelength. One is 680 and other is 700. Now let us look at question number 12. Light reaction in stroma lamina of chloroplast results in production of ATP, NADPH2, ATP plus NADPH2 and oxygen. The answer to this question is answer A, ATP. Now, how to answer this question? To answer this question, we should remember that photosystems are located where? Now, the stroma lamina of chloroplast contain only photosystem 1. So, since stroma lamina contain only photosystem 1, so there would be only cyclic photophosphorylation there. And in cyclic photophosphorylation, only ATP is formed. NADPH2 is not formed. So, answer would be option A, ATP. Now, let us look at question 13. Core metal of chlorophyll is copper, magnesium, iron or nickel. This question is directly from NCERT. Now, the magnesium forms the ring structure of chlorophyll. So, answer would be option B, magnesium. You should remember that magnesium forms the ring structure of chlorophyll. Now, let us look at question 14. Light reaction of photosynthesis is also called Calvin cycle, Hill's reaction, TCA cycle, all of the above. We know that light reaction was given by Hill, so it is also called Hill's reaction. Now let us do the last question. Process of assimilation of CO2 to produce carbohydrate is oxidative, catabolic, reductive, all of the above. So you know that process of assimilation of CO2 to produce carbohydrate is nothing but photosynthesis, and photosynthesis is a reductive process in which CO2 is reduced to carbohydrates.